Welcome back to the Toolkit. Today we're going to talk about basic maintenance. I would say the majority of my customers are first-time tractor owners. So much of what's important in the tractor world is maintaining these to make sure that you get long life out of them. So let's go over a few tips and tricks and maybe some basic maintenance. All right, first thing I want to go through is how to open our hood. So we're going to go ahead and start up here. You're going to need a key or any flat, maybe flat head screwdriver, anything like that. And we can just go ahead and depress it down in this slot, and that will pop up the hood so we can gain access to it. So this is a 1 Series tractor, but that's going to work on the 1 Series, 2 Series, 3 Series, and 4 Series tractors. They all have one of those switches in there. Once our hood's open, there's a couple of things that we're going to see right off the bat. On the top of the hood, on most of our tractors, you're going to see a placard that has its service intervals. So it tells you things like oil changes, hydraulic changes, when to go ahead and do our grease fittings. That could also be found in our manual, so don't overlook that manual. We always recommend that's the first thing you should do when you're buying a tractor is read the manual. The next thing we're going to see underneath here is some different parts. So on a 1 Series tractor, we're going to see things like a pre-filter on the front of the radiator. Ensuring that that's clean before each use is very integral to making sure the tractor runs at a nice, cool operating temperature. We've got our air filter that's located on top. All right, so how we're going to gain access to our air filter is we have to take off, on this particular tractor, we're going to have to take off the side panel. So it's easy as flipping the little yellow retainer clip on the side and pulling back on the side panel. That's going to allow us to take that whole panel off and drop it right off out of the side. All right, so when I want to get in here, I'm going to go ahead and pull out on the orange tab on the side of the air filter, and that will allow me to pull off the side cap, and then that will give me access to both of my filters. So you're going to see I've got an external filter, a pre-filter if you were, and an internal filter. So both of those are present on here. And obviously this is a brand new tractor, so these are really clean. You might have quite a bit of dust on this outside one. Always good to knock it off, or if you're gonna take an air wand, go from the inside out so you can disperse that material out. So we don't wanna force any more dirt and debris inside the air filter. We wanna go from the inside out. To put it back in, we're just gonna go ahead and push both filters in and line up the air filter so that the debris nozzle is facing towards the ground, so if anything gets in there, it'll be able to fall directly out. Next, let's go ahead and check the fluids in our machine. So let's start with engine oil. I want you to note that the dipsticks on these, so the dipsticks is where I'm going to check the oil, they are color-coded, so they're all color-coded yellow. So on every one of our machines, the dipstick is going to be yellow. Similar to a car dipstick, you're going to have hash marks on there that's going to say add and full. This particular one is right in about the 3/4 mark, so we're absolutely good on this. The oil level is nice and good, nice and perfect. The only thing I would note is that this oil is almost brand new, so it's kind of harder to see. You'll notice on some tractors that actually have a few hours on them that oil will darken up, especially on a diesel engine. Next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the fuel filter. So the fuel filter is located right down off to the side of the tractor, and it's got a petcock valve that will turn on and off that fuel flow that's going to the filter itself. There is a little red device right in the bottom. That red device is designed to float in water. So if you get any water in your diesel fuel, for example, if you've got fuel that's been stored out for a long period of time, often tends to have condensation build up in it. That stuff could make its way back to the tractor. Well, this little device in there is designed to kind of give you a heads up. Hey, there's water in your fuel. If that starts to raise, something to be aware of. You'll probably need to get that cleaned out. So in this case, we could just turn off the petcock valve, drop that filter and pour it out. On some of my bigger tractors, there's going to be a little valve on the bottom that I can open up and drain the fluid out from of the filter right on the bottom. So anyway, something to be aware of. If that's a little too intimidating, of course, you're always welcome to bring it into our service department and they'll get you taken care of. Let's go ahead and check hydraulic fluid on the back of this 1 Series tractor. So if I come to the back, if you look back here, you're gonna go ahead and see another dipstick that is color coded in that yellow color, similar to the one up there at the front of the engine oil. So all it is literally a dipstick that goes into the transmission there, and then it's got a check and an add mark when cold. And as you can see on this dipstick, or you might not be able to see since this hydraulic fluid is so fresh and new, it is all filled up with hydraulic fluid. So this tractor absolutely checks out. If I needed to add fluid, there is a fluid add port right at the top on this particular tractor. It's located in a couple of different locations on our 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4 Series tractors. So that's where I would add fluid to it. Generally, I don't have to add fluid to tractors very often, but if I'm adding things, taking things on and off like grapples, you could get some sort of, some that leaks out over time, just a little bit at a time. So long and short, generally you don't have to add it unless there's something there's an issue with the tractor where it is leaking that fluid. So, but it is important to check it consistently to make sure that we're checking up on those leaks to make sure it's not having any issues. Continuing on with our basic maintenance, let's talk about grease fittings on this tractor. So this loader is obviously outfitted with a considerable amount of grease fittings. Why? Because every pivot point on here actually has a grease zerk attached to it. So going through, and again, this is going to be in your manual, going through, identifying each one of those grease zerks and greasing them periodically is integral to the performance of that loader and, quite honestly, the rest of the tractor. A gentleman once told me when I first bought a tractor that, you can really tell a used piece of equipment, if a used piece of equipment is treated right, if you can tell when that loader comes in and it's shaking and jostling all over the place. We know right away that a customer hasn't really maintained their machine because they weren't properly greasing their loader. So great idea to keep those greased as often as possible, especially when doing heavy loader work. Thanks for joining us in today's toolkit. Please like and subscribe to the channel and comment down below if you've got any questions. What would be helpful is if some of the veterans who own tractors out there could help comment down in the section below if I've missed anything and want to help out those new folks to our community. Thanks again for joining us at Papé Machinery. We'll see you on the next one. Hi, my name is Jason Hughes. I'm a territory manager out of Eugene, Oregon. I'm also a large property owner and own a lot of the equipment that you see featured in these videos. I hope you find this content helpful. If you have any questions, please comment below.